What's up, everybody? You're back in here, Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach. We're hanging out with you today. More season previews for you, digging into the NFC South for you this week. Saints are on the docket for this video, so the Saints are Who Day, right? And Who Dat is Cincinnati, or do I have that backwards?
No, it's Who Day.
Okay. Okay. See?
Who Day.
Yeah. Who
they say they beat them Saints? Who Day? Yeah, I think so.
Now I'm gonna have to look it up, and we're gonna get absolutely
demolished.
All right, so Saints are Who Dat.
Who Dat?
Who Dat? Who Dat? And I apologize to all of Who Dat Nation for me absolutely messing that up. I guarantee I don't forget that. I guarantee I don't forget it.
The Bengals became Who Day way after Who Dat, because Who Dat was whenever they had.
That's
Drew
what
Brees.
pisses me off about it.
It's so stupid.
And there shouldn't be a confusion for me because they had it first.
Yeah.
And that's why I deeply apologize to Who Dat Nation right now. So, hey, maybe we can give them a good little outcome on our preview for them here. They didn't really do too much in the offseason. For me, it's kind of a matter of running it back.
The biggest thing is that they lost Michael Thomas and Jameis.
Is it, though? Is it the biggest thing?
I feel you. The guy had one or two really, really, really good seasons early in his career. He's been dealing with injury. He loved the player.
He had one or two really, really good seasons with one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game.
True.
And I'm not taking anything away from him because I get you. His athletic profile and how he just immediately tore up the league, he should have been a dominant wide receiver.
Yes.
And granted, it's been injuries that have derailed him. So once he can get back on the field, who knows what we'll see. I mean, I'm sure he'll still give you something. But, yeah, we've seen him life without Drew Brees. And, I mean, also, I just have big questions as to why are you not on the field? I know it's injuries, but
there's hurt and there's injured, and it seems like he's not going out there when he's hurt.
That's a great way of putting it. That's where my brain is. Are we just not toughing it out? I'm not one to call out anybody's toughness or anything, but as a past fantasy owner of them, it's frustrating.
Based off of PFF, the New Orleans Saints had the highest rated overall, and they had the highest rated receiving core last year. They definitely got very fortunate with Chris Olave coming in. Everyone thought that Chris Olave and Mike Thomas were going to create this duo, but in reality, it's just kind of Chris Olave's thing. And then they had Shaheed last year was starting to pop off near the end of the season. He was very fantasy relevant for at least a good 6-8 week period. So They definitely have some upside. They added Cedric Wilson and Chase Young, though, so that's two pieces for offense and defense that are very solid. I mean, Cedric Wilson was kind of overshadowed in Miami, never really had an opportunity to shine. And Chase Young, I mean, still a number one overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Young, he's just power athlete.
Yeah.
So if he can get it together for you, he's absolutely going to bring an element to your defense. I like the picks they made from where they were slotted at in the draft. Talisi Fuaga, I feel like that was one of the most mocked picks, throughout all of mock draft season. It was that pick right there.
Yeah.
I really like them being able to pick up Kool-Aid McKinstry in the second round. For how much he was mocked in the first round, getting him in the second, that's a steal to me. And then I do like the Spencer Rattler pickup in the fifth.
If you're going to get a quarterback not in the first round, Spencer Rattler was the one that I liked. He's got some dog in him. As much as Austin likes to talk about that, he hated on Spencer Rattler, but that seems like that's who that guy is. He doesn't have a lot of, high points of his game. He's not the best arm. He's not the most athletic, but he just kind of has some grit to him, and that's what I like about him.
I mean, my thing with him is, and I hope it's changed, and I know the reports came out about the whole GM saw when he was on that QB1 series for Netflix, and now he was a high school kid, so you've got to take that as a little grain of salt as to how he was acting on there. But it wasn't a good vibe, and from what I've seen of just speaking of his game, he is a smaller guy and doesn't have the strongest arm, and he's not the best athlete.
Yeah.
So it's one of those to where I think he'll be a solid backup in the league, but really nothing more. But I mean, when you're getting a 5th round, you're just throwing a dart and just hoping to get close.
And there's lots of guys that have gone late like that that have been solid. They'll have a chance to potentially develop him because they still have their starter in Derek Carr. Like, Derek Carr is not going anywhere for the next couple of years. And he dealt with some injuries last year too. And without those injuries, I mean, they've won 9 games. They were only 1 game out of winning the division. This is a very, very weak division. It's kind of up for grabs. Atlanta's the new scary team in town because of having Kirk. But that, with all the mistakes that Atlanta's made, I don't know if like their ownership is gonna muddle in too much and like really mess up their opportunity to potentially like do something.
Yeah, and they're in cap hell.
Yeah.
Like, I know I will always preach like the cap is a myth to an extent. Like, there is a point to where, like the Saints, you have so much dead money and you can do what you need to get above the cap and stay compliant. But we've seen it, like their ability to sign actual like elite free agents just is not there.
Nope.
And so let's dive into this ADP a little bit and look at what they're giving from a fantasy value. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Once we hit 500, we're giving away a free jersey, either custom or current player. We'd love to give away a Saints jersey to somebody, maybe a Spencer Rattler one if you're looking to the future. Just do it. Tell your friends, tell your family. Derek Carr right now, number 25 quarterback, number 155 overall. How are you feeling about Derek Carr as a fantasy viable quarterback this season?
I think that last year their offense was okay, but it wasn't like a week in, week out powerhouse where I'm like trying to grab that quarterback. There's other quarterbacks going anywhere from like 15 to like 20 that I have a lot more interest in that like are outside of the top 12. The top 12, everyone considers like I need one of these guys. I feel like Derek Carr could end up being a surprise, especially if Shaheed picks it up this year. And
takes another step, yeah.
Takes another step forward. Then he's got 2 really big weapons. They also have Kamara still. And like Kamara, in my opinion,
Johnson, I as a owner of him off the waiver wire at the end of the season for the playoffs, Jawan Johnson was on my championship team coming in winning a playoff games for me. Like, I like his game. It's just to me I know the Saints fans love him. They've got to get rid of Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
I feel like the way they force him into packages, Tebow style, and I understand it because he's an athlete, but for the money they have thrown at this guy, and for as little value as he brings to, if Taysom Hill misses games or is off the field, how much does that change your team? And to me, it doesn't change it very much.
No,
and so
like you said, it's just packages. He's only coming in whenever they're near the goal line, and like in reality, he's a vulture from like a fantasy
for these new kickoff rules.
True, very true.
He might add a little more value to himself if they allow him to return kickoffs, but for me, Derek Carr is in a regular standard 1 quarterback league. I'm not looking to roster him unless it's a week to where both of my rostered quarterbacks are on a bye or one's injured and I need to pick somebody up. In a 2 quarterback lead, I think he's a solid 3rd quarterback on the roster. I feel better about the 4th because in a 2 quarterback lead, they're going like hotcakes. But I mean, you're getting him in the 15th round right now in a standard league. So I feel that his value is accurate for him. Like, there's some guys that throw me off, but he's valued accurately.
Now, talking about some value that you can find, though, Kamara in the 5th round. Last year, he was coming off of a suspension, and that's why you were getting him so late. And running backs are very hard to like nail down. I get that he's probably like 28 or 29 at this point. He's a prolific athlete. I think that 17th running back off the board, I mean, as a running back too, that's great value. He's still one of the top running backs, I think, in like pure talent, even with Sean Payton being gone.
I agree. Kamara's a stud, and when you're getting him in the 5th round, you're getting him as a possible RB2, RB flex position. But for the running back waiting crowd, to me, if I nail my first 4 rounds, he's a great RB1 choice.
Exactly. You're only getting like 3 or 4 guys that are going to put up 20 points a game. And he's not going to necessarily put up 20 a game, but last year he was right in that realm. Like he missed all those games and he still finished very high in the running back market. I think that he's probably the best value that you can get if you're trying to get a Saints player. Like Olave.
I agree. If you want a handcuff to him, Kendre Miller is the highest ADP running back right now for him, but over Jamal Williams, because Jamal Williams is really just kind of touchdown dependent. Or if Kamara gets hurt, he does kind of become RB1 as far as the first 2 downs go. I do like Kendre Miller as a late round flyer, just because of the athleticism he brings you and the overall just well-roundedness of his game. And then, like you were about to bring up there, Olave, number 11 wide receiver, number 18 overall. So going as a solid 2nd round pick right now.
And
how does that make you feel?
I think that you're getting him a little bit after Garrett Wilson.
Because as a possible wide receiver 1 for you, if you don't go wide receiver in the first.
Which, I mean, you should be at this point. If we haven't talked about it enough, I mean...
If you don't have one of the top, like, 5 picks to snag one of the guys at running back, which there's, like, 3 or 4 maybe this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be wide receiver.
But he's going a little bit after Waddle. He's going a little bit after Garrett Wilson. He's going way before, like... I think DJ Moore, he's probably before. I like that. I mean, he is the most targeted on his team, so target share is super important for wide receivers. He's also got that big playability, and whenever Derek Carr was out there, he had no problem feeding Olave. Now, he might have gotten most of his targets in the 3rd and 4th quarter, which is part of why he's going in the late 2nd round. Still a very solid option, very talented player, OSU wide receiver, so you can't really go wrong from a talent standpoint. I think that
now with his quarterback, not to cut you off there, but with his quarterback, where he's going, I think I would lean more towards even a Drake London with Kirk Cousins coming in. A Nico Collins really intrigues me, and then you've got Debo and Ayuk right there behind him as well. So for me, there's better options because there's better quarterback connections there.
See, Debo and Ayuk are scary.
It's one of those where if his ADP was him going in the 3rd or 4th round, where I'm looking at him as my wide receiver 2, feel much better about it.
Like if you're picking in the top 5 or 6 and you take a Justin Jefferson or a CeeDee Lamb or a Tyreek Hill even, and then you get Chris Olave on the wraparound, yeah, I like that.
Okay. I do like that because then you can easily come back on that with a Kyren Williams, Travis Etienne, Devon A-Chain. We've talked about, if you go back and watch the Dolphins episode, a little high for him, but then you've got Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Rashad White.
I mean, so much options in the 3rd.
Like, 3rd, 4th round, like you do have the running back option. This for me, like everything I've looked at and the way these ADPs line up, everyone's waiting on running backs right now. Yep. So there is the opportunity to be that one guy to swerve and take the running backs early and just solidify it, and even be one of those guys that overemphasize a position. I've played in so many leagues where a guy will take 4 or 5 quarterbacks and he'll take 3 at the end. and he does it every year, and his strategy is sound. He's injuries will happen, and these guys are better than anyone you'll get off the waiver wire.
Yep.
He was like, so I will have value at the end. He was like, these are investments, and he'll hold them.
Now, at wide receiver, Shaheed at wide receiver 59, 13th round. I mean, that seems like great value to me. Probably
I
the
like that
second
value.
best value to Kamara. Just because he's still kind of risky. You're not going to start him week one. But in 13th round, you don't need to. He can sit your bench. You can get him near the end. He could end up being a very solid wide receiver 3. And in 3 wide receiver leagues, I mean, you're going to need a guy like him, someone that has some pop to him. His target share wasn't that great last year. That's the only reason I would shy away from him any earlier than the 13th
But
round.
as a big play wide receiver like he is, for 46 receptions and 719 yards with 5 touchdowns, like, I'm going to take that. Like, that's very solid. That's flex worthy some weeks for you there as a 14th or 13th round pick.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that he absolutely carries value. Now, we need to talk about the number 22. Like, as a wide receiver, there are better options out there. So, I mean, my guy, like, okay, like, if it's been your number forever, like, we can talk about that. But that's not Hall of Fame worthy numbers there for wide receivers. I'm just saying we're just looking at the odds. Now, A.T. Perry's a guy that's coming up for him. He's shown some promise, but right now he's pretty much going undrafted unless you're in a dynasty league, and that would be in the 22nd round. Getting into the tight ends, which we mentioned, Taysom Hill is listed as a tight end in fantasy purposes.
I don't like that he's getting drafted before Juwan Johnson.
I don't either. As the number 19 tight end, Juwan Johnson being the number 21, and Taysom going in the 16th round with Juwan going in the 17th. Like, I agree. I think Juwan gives you better value as a tight end unless you play in a league or you play on a system with either Sleeper, ESPN, whichever one decides to give Taysom that quarterback / tight end.
Exactly.
Then to me, Taysom has no value as a just specific tight end, and he becomes very touchdown dependent.
Yep. I think that Juwan is also going to take a step. I believe that he's a younger player. Like, I don't think he's even on his second contract yet with them. So I'm expecting more and more. Tight ends take a little bit of time to develop. And we already saw the flashes last year. I think that if the team can get a little bit behind, really giving him some good quality reps, then he's going to be much better than tight end 21. Am I targeting him? Not necessarily. But if a bunch of guys go that I do want, then he's somebody I'd be comfortable with taking near the end.
Yeah, in the 17th round, like, I mean, I hope you've taken a tight end before that.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
in standard leagues, they're only going like 15 or 16, so he's basically undrafted. I might spend my last pick on him if I, like, get a tight end that's, like, the 9th best tight end.
Even, like you just said there, too, like, most tight ends after probably, I'd say the cutoff for me, Luke Musgrave in round 15. Anything after that is waiver wire. Like, you're just watching them, seeing what happens. Like, Hunter Henry, Cade Otton, I don't know. If you're rolling with them as your tight end 1, like, to me, your roster better be stacked.
Yes, exactly.
And that's like your starting lineup. Like, you better have nailed guys. And you're not even going to know that until about week 7 because all of that depends on health.
Yep. I think that for me, like, if I was going to target Kamara, I would really want to nail 3 wide receivers and maybe one of the premier top 4 tight ends in the first 4 rounds, and then get me a Kamara, and then I wouldn't worry about Juwan Johnson. But if I don't do that, if I end up having to get a tight end in the 6th or 7th round, and I'm getting like an Evan Ingram or later, then I'm going to try to get a little bit of insurance. Juwan Johnson's not a horrible selection. I wouldn't be excited about it, but we could all be eating our words if this offense takes off. We talked a little bit about Derek Carr earlier, And the big issue is that he has Olave. Shaheed might take the step forward. Kamara's there, but Kamara, as much of a receiving back as he is, he doesn't help Derek Carr hit his numbers. He doesn't like help him expand his game enough like Shaheed and Olave do. So this offense in general, like I'm not really targeting the Saints like I am other offenses. Another one we talked about earlier, and we'll talk about it more on the actual episode, the Falcons offense is scary for me. Drake London is probably going to get 8 to 10 targets a game. But if they end up spreading that ball out and they give Pitts his targets and they give Drake London his and Bijan is getting, 15 to 20 carries a game, it's going to be really hard for them to stay consistent every week. I want 15 to 20
and don't
points
forget,
a game.
they brought in Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore.
Exactly. And that's where Olave is. I would prefer him over Drake London because he doesn't have a lot of competition.
As many mouths to feed. I do got you there. The target share percentage for him is much higher. Like
he's gonna touch 30% of the time.
Yeah, I do got you there. And so, like I said, for me, I'm cool with Olave if I went wide receiver in the first round, and I've committed to waiting on a running back.
Now, the Saints won 9 games last year, and their over-under right now is 7.5 for wins. In this division, I think they can go over. I think that the only reason that they're under is because of what everyone expects the Falcons to be. But my expectation for the Falcons is not as high as everyone else's. I know they have a lot of talent, and they just got Kirk Cousins, but he's coming off of an Achilles, and we know what that's like. And he's an older quarterback. I'm not super sold that that team's gonna just figure it out all of a sudden.
But they got Michael Penix.
Yeah, true. I guess.
But no, so for me, after looking at their schedule, I'm gonna lean under.
Okay.
Just simply because even at full health, unless their defense is just playing lights out and that offense is just clicking, the defense I don't necessarily worry about. Like the Saints defense is going to play nasty. It's the offense, and if the offense can show any kind of consistency, then I'm with you. I do think they can go over. For me, it's just such a vanilla offense that I'm going to go the under here. Now, I'm leaning the under by maybe a game. Like 6 wins, 7 wins is what I see for them. They could maybe steal 1 or 2 to get over that, but I lean the under there for them. Okay. I think the Saints are slowly working back towards, a rebuild here. Because Derek Carr's only got a couple years left that they're roped in with him. But hey, Saints fans, who dat? Won't forget that ever again. If you're still here with us, we absolutely appreciate you guys. Show some love, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you get all of our episodes in the future. Tell your homies, tell your friends. 500 subscribers, giving away a free jersey. TulsiRoseTee.com. That's where you get all your tea needs. We love you guys. Peace out.